Explosions and air raid alarms sounded all night in the city of Mykolaiv and the region. The Russian occupiers continued to shell Ukrainian settlements.
Mykolaiv is being shelled. Since the air raid siren was sounded, explosions, including those of cluster munitions, have rocked the city. Several fires broke out at the sites of the strikes. Residential buildings have been damaged by the shockwave and debris. Alexander Senkevich, mayor of Mykolaiv.
And this dormitory district of Mykolaiv was shelled by Russian troops the day before. Multi-story buildings and houses in the private sector of the city were damaged. Windows were blown out and roofs were broken. In addition, a gas main pipe was punctured and power lines were torn. In Kharkiv, the night was also not calm. According to preliminary information, Russian troops fired several missiles towards the city.
The night shelling of Kharkiv continues. Today there was a whole series of explosions. We know that the Nemyshlansky district has been hit. According to preliminary information, several buildings have been damaged. Ihor Terehov, mayor of Kharkiv.
During the past day, Russian occupiers fired at the Sumy region 5 times. There were over 80 strikes recorded.
Velika Pisarivka community, 12 shells from a self-propelled artillery system. Bilopila community, mortars fire, 18 shells. After 5 p.m. artillery fire, 7 shells. Another artillery shelling was after 8 p.m., 8 shells. Seredina Buda community, 36 shells. Russian artillery fired. Dmitro Zhivitsky, head of the Sumy Regional Military Administration.
Meanwhile, in the temporarily occupied territories of the Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions, the Russian occupiers are preparing to hold so-called referendums.
In the temporarily occupied territories of the Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions, the Kremlin's United Russia political party began to work actively. We see that measures are being taken to verify the so-called electoral rolls. In addition, they have opened polling stations where the referendums will be held. The process of issuing Russian passports has begun actively. This is a set of measures that Russia is now conducting in the occupied territories in order to prepare and hold a referendum. From the message of the main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine.
On the eve of the so-called referendum, the Russian occupiers are intensifying filtration procedures and arranging real terror in occupied Kherson, local authorities say.
The occupiers are inspecting all of Kherson, including garages, basements and attics, industrial and municipal facilities. Be extremely careful and stay away from Russian occupying forces. The Russian soldiers rely on the Soviet rule books and the plan method, whereby they have to fulfill certain predetermined monthly, calendar-based targets of a number of extremists, saboteurs and partisan squad. Yuri Sobolevsky, First Deputy Chairman of the Kherson Regional Council.
About 50% of the population remains in Melito, which is occupied by Russian troops, and the authorities urge people to evacuate as soon as possible to safe regions. However, it is not easy to do so now. There are about 4,000 people in line waiting to leave Russian-occupied Melito.
Unfortunately, not everyone can wait their turn. There is already a confirmed fact that 5 people died while waiting in line for their evacuation to Ukraine. Since August 1st, in order to leave the territory temporarily occupied, it will be necessary to take some special passes from the commandant's office. They are trying to complicate the exit from the territory. Ivan Fedorov, mayor of Melito.
Because of the large-scale destruction of infrastructure in the Donetsk region, where almost all gas pipelines have been damaged, it will not be possible to start the heating season. That is why the government of Ukraine is introducing mandatory evacuation for residents of settlements not occupied by Russian troops. There will be no heat in the Donetsk region during the winter. Article 33 of the Code on Civil Protection states such a form of evacuation as mandatory. I believe it is the responsibility of every adult family member. There are 52,000 children in the Donetsk region. They must be evacuated. They cannot be put in deadly danger in the winter without heat, without electricity, without the ability to warm them up. Irina Vereshchuk, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Reintegration of the Temporarily Occupied Territories of Ukraine. Meanwhile, partisans are active in the Luhansk region. Near the Russian-occupied city of Svatove, they burned down a railway junction box.
It is now difficult for Russian forces to transport ammunition to the front by rail. Last night, good people destroyed the railway junction box near the occupied city of Svatove. Unknown patriots burned down the junction box that controls the traffic lights and railway crossings, and the power supply to the railway itself depends on it. Warehouses are being blown up, and the railway is now in sleep mode. Bad luck for the occupiers. Serhiy Haidai, head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration.
In the south direction, Ukrainian forces eliminated more than 3 dozen Russian military personnel, 2 Stabi howitzers, a Grad multiple launch rocket system, 2 ammunition depots, enemy automobile equipment and armored vehicles during the past day.
Our aviation conducted 6 successful strikes on the enemy. 3 times we attacked enemy strongholds and accumulations of enemy troops and equipment in the Berislav district in pairs of attack aircraft. And 3 times we attacked strongholds in the Kherson and Mykolaiv districts with a pair of helicopters.
Reported by Marina Stepanenko, Mariana Krechet, UATV News.